Aransas Pass is one of those coastal towns that people either completely overlook or they fall in love with instantly. It's affordable, it's close to everything, and it has some big parks that you won't find in places like Rockport or Port Aransas. But there are some major drawbacks that you really need to know about before you ever make the move here. Things that won't show up on a Google search or a Zillow listing. But before we get into the pros and the cons, I want to give you a quick overview of Aransas Pass so that way you have a clear picture of what this town is all about. Now, Aransas Pass is a small coastal town right here on the Texas Gulf Coast, right between Rockport and Port Aransas, and it's known for its fishing, water activities, and maritime heritage, and it was once home to the largest shrimping fleet on the entire Gulf, which is a piece of history that the community celebrates every single year at the Shrimpery Festival. Now today, Aransas Pass has a population of around 8,800 people, and it has that relaxed, easygoing atmosphere that a lot of people look for when moving here to the coast. Now the downtown area has slowly been growing, the parks are well used by the locals, and the access to the water is a huge part of everyday life here. While the shrimping industry has declined over the years, the town has shifted into more of a residential hub, especially for families and workers in the oil and marine industries. And because of its location, Aransas Pass also serves as a major pass for ocean-going traffic heading into the port of Corpus Christi. So even though it has that small town feel, it still plays a pretty important role here along the Texas coast. To kick things off, we have one of the biggest pros of Aransas Pass, and that's the affordability. The price per square foot here is noticeably lower than what you're going to see in areas like Rockport or Port Aransas. So buyers who want that coastal lifestyle without the coastal price tag usually take a look at this area first. Now the average home price this past October was around $203,000. But that's mainly because there were only 10 homes that sold in the month of October, and the majority were in the $100,000 to $300,000 range, which really pulls the average down. Now, the interesting thing though is even with the affordability, the market here has been moving slow. Over the last few months, we've only seen about 10 to 12 homes sell each month, and inventory has stayed consistent at roughly 10 months. And the days on market has also been staying steady, sitting anywhere from 100 to 130 days, which is definitely on the higher side for the coastal bend. Now, a lot of that ties back to the interest rates keeping people on the fence or completely priced out, and the fact that buyers have nearby options like Rockport, Portland, and even Corpus without adding much to their commute. Now, another benefit is the variety of housing here. You're going to find older homes that might need some cosmetic work, but remember, this is the coast, so things wear down a little bit quicker. But you also have new construction options from the smaller mom and pop builders, Hogan Homes, South Texas Home Builders, and a few others. There also aren't many large master plan communities going up in Aransas Pass, but there are some active developments like the Harbor Heights, which is Hogan Homes community, and Aransas Pass, which is a manufactured home community. You're going to also see a mix of manufactured homes, mobile homes, and even people living in RVs throughout certain parts of Aransas Pass. And that's completely normal for the area, but it's something buyers should know because depending on where you buy or you build, the surrounding homes can impact long-term resale value. Now, some pockets are more established or better maintained than others, so it really depends on the street and the neighborhood. Aransas Pass also has canal front homes, and those range anywhere from the 600,000 to over 3 million, depending on the size, water access, and the type of community. Now, most canal areas are gated communities with HOAs. On the flip side, a lot of the inland neighborhoods have no HOA at all. So seeing boats, RVs, and extra vehicles on the property is pretty common. There are storage facilities throughout town though, so if you want to store your boat or your RV, you do have options. And if you are someone who enjoys extra space, then you're in luck because Aransas Pass has a surprising amount of homes sitting on larger lots. And you can even find opportunities to buy acreage. Now, this is something people really love about the area, the extra space, the oak trees, and the fact that you're not packed into tight subdivisions like many other areas. Also, currently on sites like Vrbo and Airbnb, there aren't a ton of short-term rentals right now, but the city of Aransas Pass is short-term rental friendly. So the opportunity is there as the area continues to grow, but as of now, people tend to end up in Port Aransas, Rockport, or even North Padre since they are closer to the beach with much more to do. And hey, real quick, if you're new here, I'm Lezli Milner, a local realtor here in the Coastal Bend, and I help people buy, sell, and relocate to the area every single week. And I create videos like this one to give you real, honest insight into what it's actually like to live here. So if you want to be the first to know what's happening around town, be sure to subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss a new video. Another great thing about Aransas Pass is how close it is to all the surrounding coastal towns. You're about 13 to 15 minutes from Rockport, around 15 minutes from Portland, and roughly 30 to 35 minutes from Corpus Christi, whether you're going downtown or on the south side. And Port Aransas is about 30 minutes over the ferry if there's no major wait. And the ferry is completely free and runs 24/7 as long as the weather allows. Now, one thing to note though is that the ferry lines, they can get backed up during the summertime, holiday weekends, or big events. And if the line is long, you can always drive through Corpus to get to Port Aransas, but unless the wait is over an hour and a half, it may not be worth it because it's an hour plus to go through Corpus to get to Port A. And traffic in general in Aransas Pass is pretty light most of the year, especially on the weekdays. It's just the summer months and the bigger weekends where you're going to notice more people coming through Aransas Pass to get to Port A. Now, when it comes to the day-to-day living, Aransas Pass does have the basics like H-E-B, Walmart, small shops, and local restaurants. However, for bigger retail stores or more variety in restaurants, you're usually traveling to Corpus or Portland for those. Moving on, one of the obvious benefits of living in Aransas Pass, and honestly one of the main reasons people choose this area, is the access to world-class fishing. Con Brown Harbor is the heartbeat of the community for anyone who owns a boat. You've got bait stands, multiple boat ramps, places to get your boat cleaned, and even storage options all in one place, which makes getting out on the water super convenient. Now, once you leave the harbor, you're only a short boat ride away from some of the best fishing in the entire coastal bend. You have Redfish Bay, South Bay, and Estate Flats are all right there, and these spots are known for holding redfish, speckled trout, flounder, and drum year-round. The flat systems are especially popular with the local guides because they offer shallow water action, clean grass beds, and protected areas that fish well even when the wind kicks up. So if you want deeper water or you're heading offshore, there are also plenty of channels and cuts that get you quickly to the inner coastal. Now, whether you're into drifting the flats, wading the shorelines, or running out a little bit further, Aransas Pass puts you right in the middle of it all. It's one of those things that locals don't take for granted. Being able to leave your driveway and be on the water in minutes is a huge perk that you won't find in a lot of other coastal towns. The next pro is an important one and a big reason why people love the area, and that is the small town feel that you get in Aransas Pass. It's a slower pace, people know their neighbors, and you really get that tight-knit coastal community vibe. You're not dealing with the heavy traffic, the big city noise, or the constant busyness that comes with the larger areas. Now, a lot of local events, small businesses, and day-to-day life revolve around the community, and that's something that a lot of buyers really enjoy. If you're someone who likes a quieter lifestyle with more of that hometown feel, then Aransas Pass is definitely an option to consider. Also, whether it's your full-time residence or a second home, it's nice to know that people are always watching and talking. If something happens in the city or the neighborhood, I can assure you that it will be on Facebook being talked about in the local groups. Now, even though Aransas Pass is a small coastal town, it does offer more than people think at first glance. You have your basics covered with places like H-E-B, Walmart, a Lowe's, and a handful of small shops, ensuring that you won't have to leave town for everyday errands. There are also a few local amenities that people don't always expect in a town of this size, like the CM Lanes Bowling Alley, the Retail Theater, the movie theater, and the Community Aquatic Center. These are all fantastic places, and you will even see people travel into Aransas Pass from the surrounding areas to enjoy some of these entertainment options. I personally prefer CM Lanes over the Bola Rio and Corpus because they have better pricing. CM Lanes charges you by the hour, not per person per game like Bola Rio and Corpus does. Now, Aransas Pass is not a place with a big city entertainment or tons of dining options, but for the size of the town, it actually has a good amount of things to do without having to drive out every time. For the final pro, this is something that a lot of people overlook. Aransas Pass is actually in a really convenient spot for anyone working in the big industries nearby. If you're in the refineries, at the steel mill, in the fishing industry, or you work in marine services, then this area just makes sense for you. You're close to the job sites, the commute is easy, and you're not fighting the traffic you'd be dealing with living deeper in Corpus. Plus, you still get the benefit of more affordable housing while staying close to where you need to be every day. Now, as you can tell, Aransas Pass definitely has a lot going for it, especially if you're looking for affordability and that laid-back coastal lifestyle, but it's not perfect, and I always want you to have the full picture. So let's take a look at the cons to keep in mind before moving to or investing in the area. One of the bigger drawbacks for families with school-age kids is Aransas Pass ISD. Now, the district is smaller with a student count of around 1,700 students, and it consistently ranks lower in both academic performance and overall reputation compared to nearby districts. Now, this district was rated a D by the Texas Education Agency, which is a concern to buyers that have families. So they will typically look at other options and see what is out there. And they usually happen to find districts like Gregory Portland ISD, which is higher rated and even offers open enrollment, which a lot of families will take advantage of. Now, Gregory Portland ISD is constantly upgrading their campuses and their facilities, and the most recent one that has opened is the multi-purpose athletic facility that the students can use all year long, and is something that Aransas Pass ISD doesn't currently offer. Now, if you don't have kids, then this con won't impact your daily life, but it can matter for long-term resale and neighborhood stability. Now, a stronger school district tends to bring in more families and keep them in the area longer. And as far as improvements, there aren't any major changes happening right now for Aransas Pass ISD. The school district does have a tax proposal aimed at boosting funding without raising property taxes, which could go toward things like teacher salaries and program support, supplies, and potential facility upgrades. But as of now, nothing has been implemented just yet. One thing that catches a lot of people off guard about Aransas Pass is just how limited the options are when it comes to healthcare, shopping, and restaurants. Now, the town has what you need to get by: the basic doctor's offices and urgent care and H-E-B, Walmart, and a handful of local places to eat, but it's far from a place with a lot of variety. Now, when it comes to healthcare, there's no hospital or emergency room in Aransas Pass, and the closest ER is in Rockport, which is about 15 minutes away. And for a full hospital or any type of specialized care, you're going to be driving into Corpus Christi. Now, most people end up going to the medical centers on the south side or downtown Corpus, which is roughly 30 minutes from Aransas Pass. Now, on the food and shopping side, Aransas Pass leans heavily into its coastal roots. You're going to find some solid seafood spots and a few local favorites like Papano's Place and Mickey's Bar and Grill, but the selection overall is limited. For bigger retail stores, more restaurants, or national chains, most residents head to Portland or Corpus. And if you want boutique-style coastal shops, you're going to usually go to Port Aransas or Rockport for those. So while the basics are here, Aransas Pass isn't the kind of place where you have endless options just right around the corner. If you're someone who likes having a lot of choices for dining, medical care, or shopping, you're going to find yourself driving out of town pretty often. Another thing that comes up with buyers a lot is safety, and like many small coastal towns, Aransas Pass does have areas where you're gonna notice older homes, lower income pockets, or more visible drug activity. And it's not the entire town by any means, but certain streets and neighborhoods can feel a little more run down compared to nearby areas like Rockport or Portland. Now, the overall crime rate is higher than the national average, and both violent and property crimes are above average. With that said, many residents still report feeling safe here, and most concerns are tied to more seasonal tourism, water safety, or wildlife encounters than the day-to-day living. And a big part of this ties into the town's slower growth and the fact that it's a working community with a mix of income levels. Some neighborhoods have been updated or rebuilt since Hurricane Harvey, while others still show their age. And because of that, buyers usually ask which pockets feel more established or better maintained, and that's something that you're going to want to pay attention to when you're looking at homes here. Aransas Pass is like a lot of small coastal towns. Some areas just aren't as well lit at night nighttime. There are fewer street lights, and the commercial lighting from local businesses is pretty minimum once you get off the main road. It's something that buyers notice right away, and it's simply part of the small town character here. Some streets feel a little bit darker compared to places like Portland or Corpus, so it's just something to be aware of if you're used to more developed or heavily lit neighborhoods. One thing to keep in mind with Aransas Pass is the limited job diversity. Now, this area, like I mentioned before, is great if you work in the trades, local government, the refineries, fishing industries, or any of the marine-related jobs along the coast. Now, those roles are close by and the commute is easy. However, outside of those fields, options start to thin out pretty quickly. If you're in tech, corporate roles, healthcare, finance, or professional services, you're more than likely going to be commuting into Corpus for work. Aransas Pass just isn't a major employment hub for those career paths, and there aren't any big commercial developments or corporate expansions happening here right now. Now, for buyers who already work remotely or in the trades or want to be close to the refineries and the marine industries, then this might not be a concern at all. But for anyone looking for a broader job opportunity locally, then this is something to be aware of. As I mentioned earlier, Aransas Pass does have more entertainment than you would expect for a small coastal town. Things like local hangout spots, fishing, community events, and the aquatic center. However, compared to bigger cities, it's still limited. You're not going to find amusement parks, nightlife is minimal, and indoor entertainment options aren't going to match what people from larger areas are used to. Even when you look at nearby towns, it's limited. Rockport doesn't even have a bowling alley or a movie theater anymore, so Aransas Pass actually has more to offer in that category. Portland, on the other hand, has its own movie theater and more retail, so each area has different strengths depending on what you're looking for. Overall, people who live in Aransas Pass tend to enjoy the local lifestyle, whether that's fishing, hitting their favorite hangout spots, or going to local events. But if you're someone who wants more entertainment variety or nightlife options, then you're going to usually find yourself heading into Portland or Corpus. Because Aransas Pass is a coastal town, hurricane and flood risk is something buyers always ask me about up front. The most recent major storm to directly impact the area was Hurricane Harvey in 2017, which caused significant damage. About 90% of the buildings in Aransas Pass were affected. The town has been rebuilt since then, with many homes and businesses repaired or completely redone, but Harvey is still the storm people reference when asking about the risk. Even though it's on the coast, not all of Aransas Pass is flood prone, which is one of the advantages here. Some pockets sit higher and fall out of the flood zones, while other areas, especially the lower lying sections, will require flood insurance. And flood insurance can get pricey depending on the exact location and elevation, so it's something buyers want to factor in to their budget early on. Overall, the hurricane and flood risk varies across the city. Many homes have been updated since Harvey, and buyers today tend to be more aware of building quality, elevation, and what parts of town are more exposed. It's just part of the coastal living, but definitely something to keep in mind when you're deciding which neighborhood fits your needs. One last thing to know about Aransas Pass is that parts of the town are still underdeveloped. Not every street is cleaned up or modernized, and you're gonna notice some pockets that look older or haven't seen much reinvestment. Growth is happening, but it's moving a lot slower compared to places like Portland or Rockport, where you're seeing new developments, new retail, and more rapid updates to the infrastructure. Aransas Pass has made progress, especially after the rebuilding that happened post-Harvey, but there are still areas that feel behind, and the consistency from street to street can vary. Some neighborhoods look well kept and updated, while others feel like they haven't changed much in years. Alright, that wraps up the pros and the cons of living in Aransas Pass, and like any other coastal town, it's not perfect. Some people absolutely love the slower pace and the affordability, and others realize pretty quickly that it's not the right fit for what they need. If you're in that stage where you're just trying to figure out whether Aransas Pass or another part of the coastal bend makes more sense for you, feel free to reach out to me. You'll find my contact information below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.